Them is wealth legit, so OD off this paragraph's marks picked. From the booth and block miles, I turn fiend quick. From the booth and block miles, I turn fiend quick. They say, bruh, what's the lane when I'm out to build the highway? And do it my way, the major mind's way. You know the Kill Bill, Kill Bill, Kill Bill. You know the Kill Bill. What's the lane when I'm about to build a highway? And do it my way, for me and mine. Say, you know the Kill Bill, Kill Bill, Kill Bill. You know the Kill Bill.
And the God that we serve is about to teach you a lesson that you have never felt before. I'm coming to you.
Ride out of this one.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, Master of this day of judgment in which we now learn. Thee alone do we serve, and Thee alone do we beseech for aid. O Allah, guide us on the right path, the path upon those who Thou hast bestowed favors, not the path upon those whose wrath is brought down, nor those who go astray. Amen.
Proverbs 14:15, the simple believeth every word, but the prudent man looketh well to his going.
Back to basics, time to race it. Better moments on operate. I had a deep thirst to go over me, so how'd I wait from that to such a now? Thank the Lord, every second learn a lesson now. If you can't understand, listen close.
Sister Patricia, Cleveland. I want to thank you so very much for what you said today, because it's all true. You know, in my studies I learned that one of the meanings of Mary, who is the woman that we should pattern ourselves after, one of the meanings of Mary is bitter. And a lot of women today are bitter because of what men have done to us and how men have treated us. But most men will not admit what you told us today. And I want to really thank you for that. I'm the sister who had said we should forgive. And I really want to thank you for everything that you said, because it was kind of profound to me. I've been in the nation for over 20 years, and I have run into men. I was married for a very long period of time, 28 years, and I never thought that I would run into men in the mosque who would still try to take advantage of women. And there are men in the mosque who try to take advantage of women. So I learned that in my experience. But I want to thank you so very much, because it means a lot to hear that from a brother, to say that, you know, all men aren't for good. So I want to thank you for that. And thank you for the reminding us of the 8 steps of atonement and the forgiveness. That meant a lot to me. Thank you so very much.
Well, I'd like to ask another question in regards to that. What makes a man want to be a virtuous man?
I can go on experience. Way before I met my wife, I wanted to be a virtuous man. One of the things that my wife said that made her to fall in love with me was that I love God more than I love her. So, love for God has to be number one.
Yes.
Go ahead.
And so that would make a man move a mountain for a woman. It'll make a man want to work and strive hard to put a woman in the palace as well as his children. So love for God is the first thing that we need to become a virtuous man, in my humble opinion.
Well, you know,
I'm gonna take, let me see. I'm gonna take the female egotistical role and say that it takes a virtuous woman to make a man for God, and it takes a virtuous woman to make a virtuous man. Because really, women are so very powerful, and we have the power to create or help or co-create with Allah, the man that God wants him to be, only if he has that desire. Now, if he doesn't have the desire to be a virtuous man, then we might be running our heads into a brick wall. However, a man who is truly seeking to allow Christ to be his head will easily gravitate to a woman who is virtuous and adopt the virtuous behavior for himself. So it's possible.
He acquires that knowledge not just about the Bible, the scriptures and so forth, but about his relationship, his family relationship. What's going to make his relationship work, and so forth. The fact of enjoying your wife, enjoying one another. Now it's different with people. Everybody's different, And I have to say we travel a lot, so we enjoy each other in our travels and so forth that we do. But it's just learning one another. As a relationship grows, people begin to learn one another. And as we grow, because you never know someone until you begin to grow together with that individual. There's steps you take, as the other young ladies have mentioned before. I like the young lady where she's mentioned about the fact that she knew this person for 9 months. Then she found out that he was married, and a lot of people don't find out those things in time, and that's very important. You got to know an individual, give them time. That's where time comes in. Time is very important. I keep telling people that time is very important in any relationship that a person may have. You will begin to see and know the virtues of that person or the lack of virtues of that person. Now, as we stated in our conversation, no one's perfect, but we begin to see a better picture as we allow time to work. In a relationship. Let time work it out, and we begin to see what a person is really, really about if we give it time.
He's absolutely right. It takes time to make manifest certain things that are hidden. However, what I'd like to offer, to suggest, is that people are different under different circumstances. For example, when a person is in a relationship, when a man is in a relationship with a woman, a boyfriend and girlfriend relationship, or even if it's deeper than that, it's a living together relationship. What I have found is that people change under contract, particularly men, but women as well change under contractual agreement. See, marriage is a contract, which means that what is imposed in the contract are conditions on the man and conditions on the woman, whereas when marriage does not exist, no matter how close they are living together, there's a change that occurs when you sign on the dotted line, because now you are contractually obligated.
Young lady was asking what makes you want to be a virtuous man, right? During the course of time, man goes through trials and tribulations. And sometimes, a lot of times, you don't know what your potentials or qualities are because, some of them didn't have father figures. You know what I mean? So we had to venture out, to and fro to society, being a part of our environment. You might have church raisins. You might have, people that always say, little wise words to you. But you really didn't take heed to it because you're still trying to figure out where you're going in society. So you might find yourself like Moses in the wilderness for 40 years, or you just certain out of your journey trying to find self. At the same time, trying to connect with God and understand what's your purpose and calling. So, you begin to, venture out, and as time goes on, you start to mature. You start to see that, the things that you used to do, you have to move on. When you was a child, you did childish things. Once I became a man, I put down childish things. So you start understanding what it is to be a man and have responsibilities. Now you're starting to figure out what does it need to keep, continue on bettering yourself. So you may read the Bible, you may read the Quran, like me and Brother Albert, we went through a lot of things, in our own little journey coming up in our little neighborhood, you know what I mean? But it's a blessing to see where he is now, and to talk with him, stay in touch, even though I him in Patterson, but, we always first, he introduced me to the show, and all the wise wisdom of the panel, and it's a great thing. But those are things that plays a role. You become a virtuous man, a virtuous woman, just acting, and participating in things like that to enlighten yourself to move further.
Sister Dina on the line.
Yes, sir.
So what we didn't hear from you tonight, Sister Roy. Powerful wisdom you gave us last weekend. What's your take on this topic?
Of course, virtuous men. I mean, I'm married to one, so of course I think
they're virtuous. There you go.
I think a lot of times with women, we get so caught up in our own personal experiences that we kind of take ourselves out of, or take responsibility away from ourselves for the type of men that we have chosen or attracted. So it looks like, oh, the men are virtuous, but then in reality, we have to look at ourselves and see that we weren't virtuous either. And I think that there are virtuous men out here. However, women, by us being so powerful, if we would do what we're supposed to do as far as we go as being a woman, the men would have no choice but to come up, because the power is with the woman. Because you have the prize, so to speak. Every woman has what a man wants. So if the woman pulls herself up, then the man will have no choice than to pull himself up. So I think once the woman becomes virtuous, men will become virtuous too, because number one, the mother is the first teacher. So if you're a virtuous woman and you having children, then you'll teach your son and your daughter to be virtuous. So I think, like I said, I think there are virtuous men. I have one. I see different brothers daily that are virtuous. I just think as women, we got to be on our team too and take responsibility. Not taking away responsibility for the brothers, because y'all got to be on y'all too, but as a woman, we have to do what we need to do to qualify ourselves to be with a virtuous man. Because you can't be one a virtuous man and you're not a virtuous woman. So that's my take on it.
Job in the Bible, the story of Job, and that story was speaking about God and the devil having a conversation dealing with Job or something to that effect. Right. Job had everything. What's my point? My point is the trials. See, when the trials come, where we at with it, and how much can we endure? If you have a wife or if you have a husband, for those that's married, and for those that's not married, those that's looking to get married whatsoever, if you're looking for a virtuous man or if you're looking for a virtuous woman, there's trials and tribulations in everything that we endure. How do we handle it? What sources that we connect with? What did Job have to go through in regards to his trials?
Hi, this is Sister Tabitha. I was just thinking, when Brother Alva was talking and different ones was talking, I was just thinking, basically, a virtuous man, if, where would you guys look for a virtuous woman? I was like, you know what, a place that probably would be feasible would be in a grocery store. If I was single and looking for a virtuous man, I would believe he would be in a grocery store. So I was wondering, where do you guys, if a woman was wanting to possibly be looked at as a wife, where do you guys be looking for, a very decent woman? Where do you guys be searching at? Besides in a mosque or church? Outside that, in a personal life, where would you guys go? And what would you guys want? Do you want her to wear a red dress? Does she have to dress a certain way? Does she have to walk straight? I mean, what do you guys be looking for?
If I had to answer that question, this is Brother Albert. If I had to answer that question, I'll be looking in the 31st book of Proverbs from 10 to 31. That's what I'm looking at. And I'm not literally saying the Bible, but I'm actually talking about the qualities and the criteria, like I was just saying in general in regards to a man. Because looks are deceiving. Obvious, that point was made earlier, and it's just so true. You know, but when you if you're actually looking for a virtuous woman, be it in a grocery store or wherever you might run into what you think is virtue, as a virtuous woman, you know, I'm going to look in the 31st book of Proverbs, because in that there's qualities and there's a criterion in there. And if I can see that in the woman that I may be looking at, then I stand a chance to possibly get what I think that I want.
I like to say, the way where I would find mine at personally, I would rather walk in the dark. This may sound weird, like walk completely in the darkness. And the way I like when y'all in the nation and y'all be breaking down those numbers. Elijah Muhammad taught y'all whatever the circumference of the earth is and however many miles it is. If I have to walk that path in the dark, I would rather walk that path whatever the distance of the earth is, and on my journey, in my Brother Albert used that word a lot, sojourn, I would want to do what God has given me as a God-given talent to do, and in that process work while it's day. And every day I will work, every night I will walk. And then somewhere along that path, while I'm focusing on helping to do everything that is defined in the church or the Nation of Islam, and I'm building and I'm creating, I'm doing things in my community, I will want her to be doing the same thing. And then all of a sudden in the darkness, our paths cross. And while I'm walking on my path, she's walking on the same path, and we basically bump into each other. And while we're in the dark, in this awkward moment, I would be like, wow, you know, I thought I was alone on this path and on this journey. She would say the same thing. And at that point, in that moment, it wouldn't be no difficulties involved with defining one another. We will already look at the path that we laid out. I can see how far she's come. She can see how far I've come. And then we will turn and walk together.
Aw, that sounds so sweet. That's how we met.
Praise be to God. Sister Molly, are you there?
I'm here, sir.
Praise be to God. How you doing?
I'm doing great. We might have to get on strong. Get a little hot down here now.
Praise be to Allah. May Allah continue to bless you as we move on with this topic.